Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial, and today we've got another video in our series about restoring the ship's captain's cabin. Battleship New Jersey has something like 1,600 compartments on board. About 1,000 of them are habitable spaces. About 250 of them have been restored on the tour route. Even though we've had 25 years, the restorations really vary from, wow, this space looks like the crew just walked out, to, wow, it looks like we just opened up the door and there's still all the chipping paint and stuff from the ship being in mothballs since 1991. So we're constantly attempting to make the spaces on the tour route look better. We've talked in the past about how our period of interpretation is around 1990, which was the last active deployment Battleship New Jersey made. So we're trying to make the majority of the ship look like it would have when the crew walked off the ship at the end of that deployment. And some of the spaces have been really, really successful. The forward berthing space, I think, looks pretty immaculate. The Combat Engagement Center is really spectacular. And a space that we're trying to constantly bring up to that standard is the captain's cabin, which is where we are today. We've done a number of videos in the past of how we have been adding to this space and adding to our knowledge of this space. I have a suspicion that this space was largely complete and intact when the museum got the ship. However, because other spaces were not, some of the furniture migrated around the ship to go and fill in other spaces, so that they were all at one baseline, as opposed to having some that are really, really well restored and some that are not as well restored. Anyway, thanks to photography, we've been able to recollect a lot of the proper furniture for this space and set it back up the way it would have looked during that time period. One of the photographs that's extremely valuable to us is this one, which was taken by Mary McKinnon. Mary McKinnon was on board as part of a NAVSEA detachment, and because of that, she was able to have pretty free access of the ship with a personal photography camera. And I suspect people just thought that because she was with NAVSEA, she was going around taking pictures of like important structural NAVSEA things for the work that she was doing. Well, some of it might have been personal photography, and she might have taken these pictures home with her and showed it to us some 40 years later. But that's incredibly valuable to the museum because we have surprisingly little photography of the inside of the ship as like an inhabited space. Like, how did they actually live here and use it? What did it look like? In many ways, the blueprints are more effective for us to use to figure out how a space looked than photography, because we just have so little photography. And usually the pictures we have of the inside of the ship are, I'm taking a picture of all my buddies goofing off at our racks, and then in the background we can see some feature or something like this. No, Mary wasn't taking those sorts of pictures when she was going around. She was specifically taking pictures of the spaces empty, which gives you a really good view of how they were laid out and how they were furnished. And so, as we've been restoring these spaces, we've been, in some instances, finding original equipment, like these couches. We're still on board the ship. We just needed to bring them back in here and figure out from these pictures how they were laid out. Other stuff, like the TV stand or the coffee table here, you can tell those aren't quite the same wood grain pattern as the rest of the space. They came off of other 80s era ships, and we were able to take parts off of them while they sat at the Philadelphia Navy Yard. So that's helped us put back in. We know that furniture, or similar furniture, was supposed to be there. We don't have the original, but this is close. So it's getting us there. Other stuff, we don't hold out hope that we'll ever find the exact copy. And that's what brings us to the point of today's video, after a preamble that's probably longer than the rest of the video. Fire my script writer. And that is this model right here. Battleship New Jersey was the first surface warship equipped with Tomahawk cruise missiles. She was one of the first ones armed with harpoons, and she was the first Iowa to fire a tomahawk, and a harpoon. And because these were some of the modern technologies being grafted onto this absolute dinosaur of a vessel, even in 1982 when she's reactivated, she is ancient. She's 40 years old at that point, which is kind of absurd to be modernizing a ship like that. Most other ships just don't have the reserve of buoyancy or the power generating capability or the relevance. New Jersey's job of shore bombardment had never been superseded by another type of vessel. So it's very unlikely for ships like this to be reactivated. And there was a lot of negative feedback that the Navy got around the concept of reactivating. The idea was first proposed to Jimmy Carter, and he vehemently turned it down, despite being himself a Navy man and having served during World War II in the Navy. So that just personifies like a lot of the fighting that's going on around bringing these ships back. And even when it's decided that New Jersey is going to be brought back, there still isn't funding for Missouri or Wisconsin. And so a lot of New Jersey's reactivation is very intentionally used as propaganda to be able to bring back these other ships, to talk about how great they are, how much new technology we're adding. So some of that new technology that they're showing off are things like the modern missile systems that greatly extend the offensive capabilities of these ships. The problem is those missiles are in these cylindrical tubes that aren't all that eye-catching, certainly not in the way that having a 68-foot-long, 120-ton gun barrel pointing out of turret number 2 is. So they outfit the captain's cabin with models like this one. And you can see this model right here on this table in the corner of this picture. We have no idea what happened to the original model. It wasn't on the ship when the museum got it. Maybe one of the ship's captains took it as a souvenir. Maybe somebody else during the deactivation process took it. Who knows? But in the absence of being able to find the original, in the absence of ever finding something similar on another Navy ship, or even on like places like eBay, to be able to find it, one of our volunteers gave us a couple of 3D printers, and one of my coworkers has learned how to use them and not just print files, but also how to design his own stuff. So he was able to take this grainy corner of a Polaroid photo from 1987 and turn it into a missing piece that we're able to restore into the ship. So now, for the first time, probably in 35 years, this model is back where it is supposed to be. This is just one of many uses that we're using the 3D printer for. There are other pieces of equipment that people take as souvenirs and other stuff like that that we're going to be able to replace. There's other parts and things that we can't find that we're going to generate over time. For example, notice that there should be a railing around here. The other table still has it. This one, it was all broken off for whatever reason. You can see the posts. So we're going to try and print up some of those and recreate this, because finding pieces of a piece of furniture is even more difficult than finding the right piece of furniture. So that's one use of the 3D printing technology. Another thing we're using it for is a lot of objects in the museum store are now being 3D printed on board the ship. For example, these models of the ship are available in the store, and we print them right here on board. Any of these things that you buy for your personal collection supports the museum almost entirely. More than 90%, maybe 95% of your purchase is going back to supporting the restoration of the Battleship, and we really appreciate that. What are some ideas you have for 3D printing that the museum could do? Let us know in the comment section down below. Is it products that you want to see for sale that, like, obviously we can't sell the original of? Is it features that would have been out on the ship that are missing, or features that are broken off? Let us know down below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to donate to support the museum. There's also a link in the description below for the gift shop with some of the 3D printed objects that I really like and have a couple of myself. And so buying those is a huge support to the museum as well. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about the museum, our channel, and our ongoing restoration work. Thanks for watching.